Keynote. I'll do a keynote this week. But we are in the depths of the chapter of wisdom of Master Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Don't forget, we're studying the depths of an instruction book to turn your mind into the mind of an angel or a saint that observes the world that we're in right now and experiences it in a heightened sense. The same world, the same shitty, average, good world, to a magical experience as a truth for them, because the world is empty of having a nature of its own. So if you plant the right causes and conditions, you can experience the same thing as an angelic experience. Yeah. So we're studying a guide. Don't forget that we're on the third course of studying a guide of the kind of mental attitude you need to work on to turn your experience of this world from average Joe, or even good average Joe, or even great average Joe, to extraordinary view that will happen uncontrivedly. Yeah? At first you have to fake it, and then it happens. This is what we're studying. And out of those 6 states of mind that you must develop, we've covered the first 5. We're in the depths now of the 6th state of mind. The first state of mind is you must generate generosity, this willingness to just give because people need. That's all. And there's lots of levels. If you do that, yes, but I'll look stupid. Yes, but they'll take advantage of me. Yes. Master Shantideva says, don't be retarded. Just generate the giving, because if everything is empty, what you give is what you get. And if you give everything to everyone, you must necessarily experience everyone giving you everything. That's what bliss is for a Buddha. So first state of mind, and he doesn't say just do it, he says develop it from small steps to big steps. We covered that. The next one he says is morality, yeah, which I hated at the beginning, but he says you develop an understanding of why morality works, connected to emptiness, and then you have a certainty that you can develop a state of mind of saint. Why does morality, being a moral being, turn you into an enlightened being? Why? Louder?
It creates the conditions.
How?
So you're going to experience the result.
If you experience the result, then being a shithead means you will experience a shithead world. Yeah? Being moral is not because some big daddy told you have to be good. That doesn't work. Yeah? It's because you understand that the kindnesses you do to your world are the kindnesses that you're creating your world to be. That's it. So if you want your world to be amazing, you make your efforts amazing. It's not a rule book just because. There's no self-existence in things. But there are nominal parameters, and if we live in those nominal parameters, the Buddha said, start off by not killing. Don't destroy life, and you won't experience your life getting old and shrinking and dying. If you want a healthy existence, take care of life. Go above and beyond normal existence. So the second state of mind, he said, is morality, yeah, with an understanding of emptiness, always, right? Understanding why morality works, not just because. The third state of mind that he taught, that we already covered, was patience, which means do not get angry when you're supposed to. When this world tells you you've got every right to be angry, because anger just destroys all your good seeds. It just kills it. 1 minute of anger destroys eons, yeah, towards a Bodhisattva, eons of good virtue. And you know this to be true when you got angry and said the wrong thing to your best friend, your family member or something, and then you worked years to try and resolve it. 1 moment of stupidness, of getting angry, just crushes any virtue you have. So if you want to have an experience of like that of a saint, get close, not a normal or average or good human life. We're not talking about that. We're talking about having an experience with the mind you have right now that is extraordinary. It's available to you. He says, the third thing you do is just don't get angry, and then you're not chopping away chunks of goodness and throwing it away. Yeah, you're keeping that there. The fourth state of mind, he says, is just be really happy when you're doing goodnesses. Joyful effort. And it takes practice to do that. You're not naturally, we live in a world where negativity sticks to you like Velcro. It's easy to be negative here. Yeah, things are naturally going down the toilet. That's normal here. That's called samsara. Yeah, things come to an end. Your body goes to an end. Your intelligence goes to an end. Your good looks go to an end. Your friendship goes to an end. Really, it's not like to depress you. It's just what it does. So you need to work extra hard to go up against that current. And joyful effort is that thing. It's the wind that moves the flame. Remember? It's the wind that moves the flame of your mind and your body, your mind. So then you practice just being happy. Yeah? Like be happy you made that mistake. Like just be funny. Like enjoy yourself. Love people. And then feel good about it. Like, oh, I was nice. I made a bad joke. Like just be happy. Yeah? What was the motivation behind my bad joke? Oh, to get us all to be more together. That's a good motivation. Oh, I feel happy. I just went to China, guys, and I thought of you. I'm happy about that. I just landed awesome karmas over there. I was riding an awesome karma, and I was building that awesome karma, being joyful all the time. It's stunning. So you do that as a practice, and then it comes naturally, and then you can't help it. And then people are like, why are you so happy? The fifth state of mind that you develop is capacity to grab your monkey mind and focus it at your will. That's hard. You should take Javier's classes. Apparently he's a famous meditation teacher. No, you're doing awesome. That's exactly what we should be doing. The only way you're going to meditate better is if you teach a ton of people how to meditate. Are you meditating better than you were before you were teaching?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah? Am I understanding Dharma better before I was? Hell yeah. Why? There's something about being embarrassed in front of too many people that forces you to be good. Seriously. But then also there's a magic behind it. I see in all your questions, I can only filter all your questions through my limitations. So I see your question as my question. And you just answered my question. I learn more here than I did over there. Yeah, I'm sort of a virtue hog now. Because seriously, I honestly understand that sitting here, being a little like, oh, I'm teaching, is really, I'm learning more than I ever did. That's extremely humbling. And it forces you up. We got to concentration. So your capacity to concentrate your mind, focus it through the 9 stages of meditation, you will see how you're creating your world. That's the point of that whole thing. You will see how all this stuff we're studying functions in you. Not in some fuzzy idea of I'm learning Dharma or whatever. In you see it. You're like, oh, I just caught my mind doing that because I practiced it in meditation for 2 years. And then one moment you had it as an uncontrived experience. You're like, oh, that thing I was faking for 2 years just happened. Shit. And it's not the end of the road. It's just another, it's like you're climbing a mountain and you think you're nearly at the top and then it's just plateau. And then another mountain over there. Oh my goodness, off you go. But you're completely leveling up. And if you get certain experiences when you are concentrating your mind and you're diligent at it, you will get to know who you are, you'll know your limitations, you can address them, and then you can get to the stuff we're studying now, wisdom. Because you're moral, you've cleaned up all your negativity. Because you didn't get angry, you're not destroying any virtue. Because you're giving, you're experiencing receiving a lot. Yeah? Because you're joyful, it's a blissful experience. Because you concentrate, you're able to stay on the awareness of the goodness coming your way as you understand wisdom. And now, in this part of the story, Master Shantideva was floating up in wisdom, right? As he was teaching this part of the chapter, he's floating up and less people are able to hear him. Which means you work extra hard to understand wisdom. And we're going to go deep next week. You've got to work extra hard because it's slippery. We're not in a world where wisdom is a second nature. We're in a world where wisdom is slippery. So you don't have the experience of not hearing wisdom because it's floating away. You focus, you concentrate your mind, you pay attention. Yeah, and you dedicate it joyfully to all the good things. So we covered all that. We're now in the middle of this chapter. He's halfway floating off, and we have to listen really hard. And last week he covered the main question we all have once we understand the emptiness of the flower or the emptiness of the pen. The Majjhimika way of understanding the logic way of understanding reality. We've covered the emptiness of the pen. In all the discussions I've ever done, I've covered the emptiness of the boss. Yeah? These are all Majjhimika ways of figuring out how reality works. We covered the emptiness of you. Yeah? We covered the emptiness last time of your parts. Remember? It's like the natural question. I understand the emptiness of the pen. I understand the emptiness of the boss. I understand that I might feel this way or feel that way, but what about the boss itself? Is that shitty person existing over there? I understand that I could feel bad and someone could feel good, but does that thing exist? And in last class, he blew our minds by saying, let's look at the parts of a person. And we divided the parts of the person into two. The physical thing and the mental thing. Right? You remember that? And we said, okay, let's look, do the parts exist by themselves? If you get a mental thing and a physical thing, do you get a person? And so we asked the question that we've been avoiding all along, is there raw data behind this shitty experience of the boss? Is there something behind that? And you don't get to learn that straight away because it blows your mind if you really think about it. When you look for the raw data, which in the West we call the atom, right? Or what was it? It was something else. It was something slower than let's say call it the minutest particle. Quark, I think it was. Yeah, whatever they think now, they're the smallest particles.
And the string, then the unified field.
The unified field.
Which is very interesting because the unified field is like a place where it's just one.
It's available potentiality.
It's like all coming from it and then become options.
But we went the analysis of physical matter, looking at physical matter, right? And we went down to looking at the smallest particle. And you can, as soon as you go from my body to my parts, my arm, my head, and so on, and you're focusing, okay, does this part exist? You've lost the body when you're thinking arm. Body is gone. And when you're looking at arm and you think parts of arm, hand, arm is gone when you're thinking hand. When you're thinking finger of hand, see if the hand exists like the way you experience it. Let's focus on the finger. Hand is gone when you're looking at finger. When you look at the fingernail versus the part of the finger, the whole finger's gone, right? So whatever layer you're drilling down, your experience of that thing you were searching for disappears. And you get to understand the emptiness of the parts physically. We did the same last week about the mind. We divided the stream of consciousness over a life that collectively every moment of consciousness we call me, my mind stream. And we found the moment, right? The present moment of mind is the atom equivalent, of consciousness. And then you can say that's the beginning of the present moment and the peak of the present moment and the end of the present moment, which means you can divide the present moment, which means it has parts, which means you can't find the present moment. So that's what he did last week, which means it's like putting your hand through the bubbly matrix wall. You can't ever find that thing you're seeking. That world existing out there, separate from you, does not exist in that way. Something else is making up the world. So he's floating up there now. He's losing us, right? He's going a little deeper this next week. He's going to talk about the 5 heaps of a person, because we just divided it into 2, right? And there's an important thing that I want you to think about before we come back next week. Is that, do you know the 5 skandhas, the 5 heaps of a person? I think the first time you hear it really is when you hear the Heart Sutra, right? He says the 5 heaps of a person, and he describes them. Yeah, the 5 skandhas. Do you know what the 5 skandhas are?
It's like form.
Form, which means your physical body, yeah?
And then
Let's
like
see. If I
mental
cool.
mental images,
Discrimination.
Cool. Discrimination. Mental
your senses.
feeling, something with your sense. Okay.
Right? Yeah.
We'll learn them next week, right? Let me see if I remember. Arya, Bodhikitishvara, Bodhisattva, during deep raja, paramita, specific senseless emptiness of all five aggregates. Form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness is no other than form. Form is precisely emptiness. Emptiness precisely form. Whatever is form, that is emptiness. Whatever emptiness, that is form. Sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness are also like this. Yeah? So, these are the skandhas. These are the five heaps of a person. The Buddha called them five heaps, but when we get to investigate them next week, you'll realize that they're really just two: mental and physical. But he divides the physical as the number one, form, formation, and then the rest are mental, but he singles out feeling as one of the, which is feeling, which is link 7 on the wheel of life. Out of the 46 mental functions, he pulls one out and calls it a heap of a person. A heap is called a heap because it's like a pile of leaves. That whole collection of stuff, form meaning this part of your body and that part of the body and that part of the, like all these physical stuff, we're calling the physical, the form heap. Yeah? So all the physical stuff. The next heap is feeling. The next heap is, let me see if I've got it in the right order. Feeling.
Feeling being the sensations.
Means feeling sensations you have. We'll cover them there. Yeah. Then you have discrimination, which is also a mental factor. He pulls it out. The Buddha pulls that out of the 46 mental factors. He says that's a heap by itself as well. And then they call it duje, which is other factors or compositional factors. It means all the other 44 mental factors are grouped into this, which are your capacity to have faith and all these other things. And then last one is awareness or consciousness. Yeah. All those last ones were mental, but he divides feeling, discrimination, the rest of all the mental stuff that goes on, and then lastly, raw awareness. He divides these into 5, and the question Master Shantideva poses and the commentary in the Abhidhammakosha is, why did he pull out feeling and discrimination as separate piles of things you have? And the answer will be next week, is because it is your feelings and your capacity to discriminate, which is, you are separate to me. That's my child, that's your child. This is my house, that's your house. This is my country, that's your country. And then you have feelings. Mine is better than yours. Yeah? So because those two are so strong, they cause all the suffering in our world. Because I can discriminate between your child and my child, I want to favor my child. I have a feeling about my child than your child. I want to protect it. Because those two mental factors are so strong and prevalent, they are driving the suffering in our existence. The others can all be grouped together. And then lastly, he groups awareness or consciousness, which is the last one, as the most subtle thing that underpins all of it. The miracle that it is that you are aware, that when you wake up in the morning, your eyes open, and already you're instantly aware, is a miracle. Like you're just meat. How can meat be knowing? Like your meat knows stuff. We don't even think about it. When you get to really subtle levels of meditation, when you practice, you go from this physical sensations, right? You go from form to feeling to discernment to all the other noise. Eventually you get to raw awareness, that thing that is projecting your existence. When you get there, you're powering on your meditation and you can see stuff that you could never see before. So these are in levels of subtlety. This is the most gross form of who you are. One of the heaps of all these 5 things make up you, the person, right? the first heap, the most gross thing, is your physical stuff. Then he divides into feeling. All the feelings and sensations you have are driving your behavior towards what you discriminate. Yeah? And then all the other stuff that happens in your mind gets lumped together, and finally all that raw awareness. These 5 heaps will investigate, because he'll say, we've divided between body and mind, and we found that there is no raw data the way we thought it exists. That when you look for it, it has raw data, and that the raw data has raw data infinitum. That the world is moldable like that. That tells you can transform from schmuck to Buddha. If it was fixed, you couldn't. Do you get that? If something was self-existent, it couldn't change. It would always be emanating that thing. As soon as it's changed, it means it's produced by something. That's why it's changing. Are you following? Yeah? So he's going now into the, as he floats off, he's going into the depths of, do all these 5 heaps that make up me, because there's nothing else outside those 5 heaps. Do they have a nature of their own? We did the body already last class. There's no self-nature to body. Yeah? My head doesn't have a self-nature of being a head. It's just a head for only after my mind conceives it as a head uncontrollably. It's forced upon me. A tiny scalp crawling creature that likes dandruff, that's currently crawling in all your heads, enjoying a meal right now. Mine is a very sparse forest. Other forests are very full. That creature is not calling that a head. There's no headness that's coming from that experience for them. The physical part we already covered has no nature of its own. Master Shantideva singles out feeling and says, do your feelings have a nature of their own? The way you feel, pain or pleasure, is that just self-existently? And he's going to do that to feeling, discrimination, all the other factors, and then raw awareness itself. He'll give you meditations to check, because if you come up empty, if you go looking for, does pain have a nature of its own? Does pleasure have a nature? And you come up empty, then you're getting to wisdom. Because you can transform pain into something else.
That's one.
There's a Zen story. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a little paragraph, and I know it's time sensitive, but basically a samurai comes up to a monk and says, show me heaven and show me hell. And the monk and the master's like, like the samurai's a killer. He killed many people. He was very remorseless. And the monk is like, get away from me, you're a killer. And the monk got really mad. Then he backed down, and then he's like, how could I harm a master like you? And he's like, that my friend is heaven, and then my friend is hell. And the samurai instantly became enlightened.
Right.
In the world of Zen, it's very like a standard word.
Like it.
But I'm just curious if this is one path, and you're showing a different path. I'm curious where they intersect, where the consciousness becomes aware of something, and all of a sudden the person just.
I think you'll see that we'll cover part of that next week. Yeah. But I'm going to encourage you to study karma and emptiness like we've covered at the beginning of this class. And you'll come to understanding why that could occur. Because it can occur. So,
just for your story, a little thing is, can I kind of add to the story? So basically, the version I know about the story, that he asked him, come to mind, ask him, what is hell? What is heaven? What is hell? So he said, you are a slaughtering murderer. So he was really mad. Come to me. He said, this is hell.
Yeah.
And then he starts to smile. Yeah, this is heaven.
This is heaven.
Really, I actually have a full story if you guys want to hear it. If you have time.
We won't now.
Just for that, one thing I want to add, like in the Abhidhamma, for example, they talk about the 5 heaps. There's also a chain of how the mind works, in a sense, which, let's say, first is a physical object that means that I see a flower, so that's the rupa. And then I have immediately like and dislike, and once I was thinking about it, how come? First I have to recognize it. However, I learned that in science now, the part that have like and dislike, the emotional part of the brain, react before we know it is, which means You see a flower have the
We
light
have an
feeling
impulse.
before you know that it's actually a flower in Western studies. Because part that recognize work slowly is the part which is emotional. So there is like and dislike of this flower, and then come, it's a flower, the recognition, and then come the mental formation, which is basically volition or other thing, but mostly volition. I want that flower. And then come the consciousness, I know it's a wanted flower. So it's all process, and then there is the next action and next movement of the body. I grab my hand and then Rupa moves and stuff like that. So it's always like interaction which comes as a chain, and the place you put our awareness, it's like, let's say anger come. I see somebody that I don't like, says, and like my enemy. So immediately you don't like, and then it's my enemy, and then I want to kill him. I don't know, and then it can create a whole fire. And if you put mindfulness or your awareness at the time that the process just started, so you can just cut the whole process from becoming like big thing.
Cool. Thank you. We're going to cover that next week, the sequence through which they move. But thank you, Abhidhamma Prashan. So that's in essence what we're going to cover next week. I think there's nothing else. We're going to get to the emptiness, or examining a meditation on examining the emptiness of your body, the emptiness of your feelings, and then the following week we'll go a little deeper again. Thank you for letting me share. We'll also do a little bit of extra secret China next week. Any other questions before we say it? Yeah?
We were talking before about start with not killing. That's something I've thought about a lot. I don't know that it's possible not to kill.
No.
I think we all kill all the time.
Yeah.
Every time we eat, every time we move.
Yeah.
So what do you think
so
is
much.
meant by that?
It's funny. The Buddha said just stop gross destruction of life. Yeah. So the stuff you can tell that you're destroying life in. So if just stop killing humans, human fetuses, and then go animals, and then go insects, and make efforts towards that. The imprints that you put in your mind, the efforts you put towards that, and the imprints you leave in your mind for making those efforts is different from whether or not you kill. Okay? It's the same as Western law. I mean, you go longer in jail if it was premeditated murder versus accidental, whatever you call it, manslaughter. Second degree murder. So it's of that nature, and then it can become an upward spiral where you can perceive yourself not killing at all. So that's my short answer to that. In fact, we had a long, loud debate at one of the monasteries in that Golden Valley. It was really loud in the middle of this thing, where people were saying, I don't have any awareness of stepping on the ants in the grass, but I can tell that I've killed ants on grass because I've walked on grass and I know that there's ants in it. So there's got to be a part of me that's killing all the time. And then the other side of the argument was going, but you don't have an awareness or an intention that you're killing all the time. Yeah? And then the argument was like, yes, but I have a background radiation that I know that I'm doing that. And so then this beautiful debate happened. It's really worth debating. It's really worth to think that in your mind, go back and forth. What is the cause of, what is it that gives you the perception of killing?
Yeah, nobody's kind of asking about plants too.
Right. Well, plants have life on them, like sentient creatures as well.
Yeah, and then
And microscopic life.
well, yeah, that, but also the goal is kind of like not having to eat, you know, like starting from grosser forms to smaller forms. It's like, well, eventually am I just trying to become some sort of type of being that doesn't have to eat anything?
It's funny. No, I don't think so. I think you can have ambrosia, which can give you long-term sustenance. There's a couple of things. The Dalai Lama said, you know, went to hard questions like that, like if you're going to get to the minute of whether or not I'm harming a nano kind of creature, first of all, make sure you stop hurting or putting beings in danger that you can see that are 3D and huge. But he says, when I get down to that kind of detail, I don't know yet, I'll tell you when I get there, right? So I'm happy to level up to lesser and lesser instances of harming life. And when I actually get to a point where I'm very aware and very conscious that I'm not harming any of those beings or any of those beings or any of those beings or any of those beings, then I'll worry about the next level. Right? So I'll make sure that that field of mind is right.
Well, also consider with the not killing that inside of your body you have billions of living organisms. The healthier that you are, the longer those organisms live, the happier they are, and the more karma that every time you eat healthy and you improve the health of your body, you feed billions of organisms.
Billions of beings, that's awesome.
Miniature beings inside of your body.
Nice.
I have this question also, sorry, like in Japan, right? The Buddhists, they depended on fish to eat mostly, so they eat a lot of fish. But I know that also fish have souls. So I'm curious how they were able to balance that out.
We don't say things have souls in Buddhist terms. I mean, the term might be mistranslated. Yeah, you can say a being is sentient, so it has consciousness. Soul has a specific connotation of having some kind of self-existence. Yeah. What's your question again?
In Japan, Buddhists or Shintoists, they practice Buddhism and meditated, but they also eat a lot of fish. Because fish was, it was impossible to grow things. So I'm curious, if eating fish is okay, but it's living life form, but I know it also causes cancer.
So if every action has an equal and opposite reaction, if the law of cause and effect is unshakable, yeah, every being that takes life must experience a loss of life or health or something similar. Yeah, so whether you're a Buddhist eating fish or a whole cow or lots of shrimp or something or not, you must experience your awareness as your consciousness has an awareness of taking life, which must necessarily give you the experience of your life force being induced. So it doesn't mean that because they're eating fish and they're Buddhists, they're sort of exempt or anything like that. You must reap the results of every action that you've done, and that you're doing.
Didn't the Tibetans used to eat plenty of meat?
Yeah, the Tibetans used to eat, and some of them still do. The Dalai Lama was actually asked to go back on.
I mean, like when they were in Tibet studying Tibet, like when they
A
were
lot of them
studying
were
Buddhism.
vegetarian also.
Yeah.
And a lot of Buddha lamas used to buy whole herds of sheep
And release them. Yeah.
It was a common practice.
Yeah. The bottom line is, what will you do? You see all these things, but see, you could look at how other practitioners live their lives, and that will never free you. You must understand the thing that the Buddha taught, and understand it in a way that you're certain, because you understand it. You've meditated on it, you've understood the logic of it, you've challenged yourself and tested it. Once you've got those things down, you won't need to look for Shinto priests and their behavior or their cultural nuances of Tibetans or Chinese or anyone else. You will have a certainty about how to practice these ideas because they're realizations. They are relating to something real. Yeah, it's something that is a truth. Everything that's outside that truth has a mistake in it. Yeah, and that mistake leads you to a flawed existence. So the point of all this is use them as guidelines, no problem. But until you have a personal sense of what these mean, and you only get that through study, practice, and meditation. Study, contemplation, meditation, action. Study, contemplation, meditation, action. Of all these ideas. And then you, Emily, will have her own experience. Stephen will have his own experience. Sarah will have her own experience. Yeah? And you'll all be on different paths because you're at different levels of cleaning up certain negativities or getting higher levels of understanding. But you won't need to check against anyone. Does that make sense? Like only then will you know. And then you'll become your own grandmaster. Inner peace. For those of you who had seen Kung Fu Panda. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's dedicate. Okay. Inner peace. Sorry. Steve.
사시
불기에 주신 메타트람 리랑링시인 대바디 성계 신두미 대부와기 broken namda shinla chuparsho idam guru ratna mandala kamniyatayami
Gewa
Dirgokun Sunam Yeshe Soksokshin Sunam Yeshe Rejunwe Dampa Kuni Tobarsho. Thank you for coming and being part of this awesome place. My pleasure. We didn't really teach it.
Thank you for keynoting.
I know.
You did keynote.
Yeah, inner peace.